The WNBA Finals were supposed to be the biggest show of the year, the grand finale that showcased everything women's basketball had become. The lights, the storylines, the passion, all leading to one climactic moment. But when fans tuned in, what they saw wasn't greatness, it was emptiness. Entire rows of seats sat untouched. The sound of sneakers squeaking echoed louder than the crowd. And the most shocking part, tickets were selling for just $6. $6 for a finals game that was meant to represent the pinnacle of the sport. As cameras panned the stands, it became painfully clear this wasn't a celebration, it was a crisis. And when A'ja Wilson glanced around and shook her head in disbelief, it wasn't arrogance, it was realization. Without Caitlin Clark, there was no energy, no hype, and no heartbeat in the building. The finals had turned into a ghost town, and everyone could feel it. When broadcasters tried to capture the crowd, the production crew quickly cut away. They couldn't hide the sea of empty seats, the quiet air, or the awkward silence that filled every possession. What was supposed to be the league's proudest moment had turned into a nightmare of optics. Even before tip-off, desperate promotions flooded the internet. Buy one, get one tickets, flash discounts, even free car washes thrown in just to get fans through the door. For a league that had spent the year bragging about record-breaking attendance and sold-out arenas, this was a harsh reality check. The moment Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were eliminated, the WNBA's momentum vanished overnight. Without its most polarizing star, the league's finals became background noise in a season that was supposed to define its future. All year long, Caitlin Clark was the spark that made the WNBA unmissable. Her games weren't just basketball, they were events. Entire arenas packed out weeks in advance. Every highlight went viral. She brought in fans who had never watched a WNBA game before. But once she was gone, the difference was instant and brutal. TV ratings plummeted nearly 50% the moment the Fever were knocked out. Ticket prices that once soared past $100 fell to single digits. The passion, the conversation, the cultural buzz that had surrounded the league for months, all of it evaporated overnight. The finals had the same stars, the same championship stakes, but none of the electricity. Without Clark, the WNBA had no story to tell. Before Game 1, cameras caught A'ja Wilson warming up, scanning the stands with a frustrated look on her face. You could almost read her lips. This is the finals? It wasn't arrogance, it was disappointment. Wilson had worked her entire career to bring legitimacy and attention to women's basketball, only to watch her biggest stage become a ghost arena. After the game, DeWanna Bonner tried to hold it together at the podium, but her voice cracked as she spoke. "You work your whole life for this," she said softly. "You want to feel the energy, the love, the fans. But look around." That one quote went viral because it said what everyone was thinking. The WNBA's finals didn't feel like a finals at all. It felt like a dress rehearsal that no one attended. Behind the curtain, executives were scrambling. League officials had seen this coming weeks earlier, quietly warning that playoff ratings would nosedive without Caitlin Clark. They hoped it wouldn't be true. It was. Game 1's numbers were the lowest of any finals in years. Panic set in. Front office teams slashed prices, ran fan appreciation promos, and sent out mass emails begging local fans to attend. Some franchises even offered free merchandise and giveaways with ticket purchases. Anything to fill those empty seats. But nothing worked. The league's sold-out summer had turned into an awkward autumn, and the sight of empty stands during the finals became impossible to spin. Once social media got a hold of it, the damage was unstoppable. Screenshots of half-empty arenas spread across Twitter and TikTok. Memes flooded timelines. Sixers finals special, buy one, bring everyone. Another viral post showed a packed Fever arena next to an empty finals venue with the caption, "You miss her yet?" The criticism didn't stop there. Fans resurfaced clips of veterans like A'ja Wilson and Cheryl Swoops, who had previously dismissed Caitlin Clark's hype. Now those same players were standing in front of empty seats. Even Stephen A. Smith chimed in on national television. "You can't chase away the person who built the house and then complain nobody's visiting." That single quote captured the moment perfectly. The WNBA had pushed away its biggest draw and was now paying the price. Desperate to control the narrative, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert faced the press, but instead of calming the storm, she poured gasoline on it. When a reporter asked why attendance and ratings had cratered, Engelbert smiled tightly and said, "It's not about one player." Within hours, Fire Engelbert was trending across social media. Clips of her remarks went viral as fans mocked the league's denial. Sponsors weren't amused either. Several corporate partners reportedly reached out privately, concerned about the optics. The commissioner's refusal to even acknowledge Caitlin Clark's impact came across as tone-deaf and defensive, and for a league built on momentum and connection, that kind of leadership failure was devastating. Inside the locker rooms, frustration started bubbling over. Players were furious not just at the poor turnout, but at the league's failure to support them. Reports claim that both A'ja Wilson and DeWanna Bonner vented their anger toward league executives, demanding accountability for the finals disaster. But younger players whispered a different truth. They said the problem wasn't marketing, it was ego. For months, the veterans had downplayed Caitlin Clark's impact, insisting that the league's growth was bigger than one rookie. Now, standing in half-empty arenas, that narrative had collapsed. The new generation saw it clearly. Fans hadn't turned away from women's basketball, they turned away from the bitterness surrounding it. While players vented, sponsors started pulling back. Executives from major brands called the WNBA asking hard questions. Where's the momentum we paid for? One representative reportedly told the league, "We invested in excitement, not controversy." Networks followed suit. Analysts inside ESPN and ABC quietly re-evaluated their coverage hours for the finals. The energy that once surrounded Clark's games, the packed press boxes, the viral highlights, the family-friendly appeal had vanished. And for a league still fighting for mainstream relevance, that was catastrophic. Fans didn't protest or boycott, they simply stopped showing up. Ticket resellers were slashing prices to nothing. Some arenas tried to give away free entry in the final minutes just to fill camera shots. Broadcasters stopped using wide angles altogether because the upper decks were empty. The silence was deafening. One viral tweet summed it up best. "You chased away your audience. Now you're playing for yourselves." It wasn't just a joke, it was the truth. The WNBA had alienated the very audience that gave it life, and fans were making their message clear in the simplest way possible by staying home. By Game 2, even the mainstream sports media had turned. Commentators who once defended the WNBA were now calling it out. "This isn't a basketball problem," one Fox Sports analyst said, "it's an ego problem." ESPN, Bleacher Report, and Yahoo Sports all published headlines pointing to the same issue. The league had failed to embrace the player who brought it its biggest audience. What was supposed to be the most successful season in WNBA history was now a case study in self-sabotage. By midweek, things had spiraled. Petitions calling for Kathy Engelbert's resignation spread across Reddit and X. The hashtag "Gang Kathy Must Go" racked up thousands of mentions. A'ja Wilson and Bonner did their best to focus on basketball, but the tension was obvious. The league had lost control of the story and the fans had already written the ending. Insiders later revealed that A'ja Wilson broke down privately after Game 2. "We did everything right on the court," she reportedly said. But it still feels like nobody cares. It wasn't a complaint, it was a confession. Wilson, one of the faces of the league, had just realized that the spotlight no longer belonged to her. For years, she had been praised as the league's standard bearer, but Caitlin Clark's arrival changed the ecosystem. And now, as Wilson looked out at rows of empty seats during the finals, she was living through a painful truth. Popularity in sports isn't inherited, it's earned by the people who connect with fans the most. Sponsors were nervous, networks trimmed coverage, the finals broadcast avoided crowd shots entirely. Inside locker rooms, a quiet divide was forming between the veterans and the new generation. Younger players, many of whom had benefited from the exposure Clark brought to the league, began to speak more openly. One anonymous player said, "Caitlin helped all of us, we all got paid more, we all got attention. Why are people mad about that?" It was a simple but powerful point. The league wasn't fractured by competition, it was fractured by pride. Instead of building bridges between eras, resentment was tearing them apart. Fans didn't care about the politics. They just wanted to watch great basketball and feel connected to it again. As the finals dragged on, the numbers painted a grim picture. Ratings had hit their lowest point in a decade. Sponsorship confidence was slipping. Even loyal fans were tuning out. The headlines were brutal. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's pulse flatlined. Analysts called it the biggest public relations collapse in league history. The league that had spent all season proving it didn't need one player now realized the opposite was true. That Clark wasn't just a star, she was the bridge between the sport and the people who loved it. The WNBA finals didn't fail because of the athletes. They failed because of arrogance. Fans don't show up for press releases or corporate slogans. They show up for stories, and Caitlin Clark was the story the entire sports world wanted to follow. Instead of embracing her rise, too many voices tried to minimize it. Too many leaders tried to prove she wasn't essential. And now, the result is visible for everyone to see. A finals played in front of empty seats by players who deserved better. The WNBA didn't just lose attendance, it lost credibility, it lost trust, it lost connection. Because when you silence the person who made millions care again, the game itself becomes quiet. Until the league learns to embrace the very player who reignited it, every finals will sound the same. The sound of sneakers echoing in half-empty arenas, the silence of fans who've already moved on, and the haunting reminder of what happens when pride outweighs progress. So now the question remains, was this finals a wake-up call or the beginning of a collapse? Let us know down in the comments below. Like and subscribe and turn on all notifications because this story is far from over.